Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of the Nevada Digital Learning Week. I just wanted to let you know that this meeting is now being recorded. Remember, in addition to joining us live each day, you can participate in Nevada Digital Learning Week by following the NVDL Week 21 hashtag on social media and sharing your digital learning stories with us. As we continue on this week, hearing from stakeholders across the state and having different folks join us, we would like to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples whose traditional homeland we are presenting from and where people are joining us from in what is now the state of Nevada. The Numa, also known as Northern Paiute, the Newu, Southern Paiute, Washishu, Washo, and Nui, Western Shoshone. I'm going to drop a link into the chat so you're able to access the information to be able to do a land acknowledgement for your trainings as well in the future. As I do that, I wanted to let you know that I'm joined here today by my colleague, Mark Rincon.
Thank you, Caitlin. And like Caitlin mentioned, my name is Mark Rincon. I am from the Office of Standards and Instructional Support here at the Nevada Department of Education. I am so happy to be here this afternoon.
Oops, sorry about that. I was muted. Today we will be hearing from Takia Barrett and Andrew Schneider from the Nevada Department of Education, who helped create the Nevada Digital Learning Surveys to collect information from families, students, and educators. If you have not yet taken the survey, no worries, it's open until March 1st, and it's not too late to take it. The QR code for each one will come up on the screen as Takia and Andrew share a little bit more information about the incoming survey results. And we'll also put the links into the chat, and we'll show a slide at the end that you can take a picture of as well to access the links and to share out with your colleagues as well. And Mark will now play a video from Takia and Andrew.
Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Snyder and I am an education programs professional and I oversee health, PE, and STEM. I am also the co-lead for the Nevada Digital Learning Collaborative Curriculum and Content Team. The Nevada Digital Collaborative, also known as the NVDLC, was created to ensure equitable access to high quality, standards-aligned curriculum for students. Educators will be able to access professional development opportunities for online and blended learning, digital tools, online platforms, video tutorials, webinars, and research-based pedagogy. Students can find resources to help them learn in a digital format, and families can find resources on how to best support their students through their digital learning experience. The Nevada Department of Education's Digital Learning Collaborative team is seeking input and feedback from our community stakeholders. As learning environments can rapidly change, educators, students, and families play an integral part in ensuring that students receive the high-quality, standards-aligned curriculum and instruction that they deserve. We have created 3 surveys to gather feedback from educators, students, and families. The feedback that we receive from these surveys will provide the NVDLC team with information that is vital to facilitating digital learning for the present and into the future. The surveys will be closing on March 1st. You will be able to access these surveys by visiting nvdigitallearning.org or by scanning the following QR codes. My colleague Takia will now discuss some preliminary data and trends we are seeing from the surveys.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Takia Barrett, and I am an education program professional with the Nevada Department of Education's 21st Century Community Learning Centers. I'm going to start out with going over some survey information from the 3 of the surveys that we have out, but I'll start with the teacher survey first. To date, as of February 18th, we have 416 responses received, and I'm going to provide to you just a sample of the trend data that we're currently seeing within the survey, but encourage you to please forward this information to other teachers, students, parents, colleagues that you have within your network so that we can get a greater number of responses from teachers, families, and parents, and students also throughout the state of Nevada. So for the teacher survey, if you are a current teacher and you like to access the survey now, you can scan the QR code that's on the top right-hand side of this PowerPoint. 416 responses so far, with the majority of those responses coming from teachers within the Clark County School District. However, we do want to have a greater representation throughout the state, so please, again, share this survey with your colleagues. A sample of the current responses show that the majority of those responding are teaching in the high school area, so anywhere from 9th to 12th grade is the response that we're getting so far. And looking at this format or the settings in which teachers are currently teaching, a majority of those teachers, of course, are virtual online distance learning classes and teaching from home, which does reflect in alignment with the majority of having Clark County School District teachers respond, because they were full virtual and online distance learning for the greater part of the school year. Looking at the total amount of hours, instructional hours being spent online, the greater majority is between 5 to 7 hours. One of the other survey questions also includes teachers responding to the professional development areas that they significantly desire to be able to participate or be provided with this year. And as you can see in the trend data, they're the largest response so far is engagement tools and digital learning. Please keep in mind that these are just a few of the survey questions that we're highlighting for you today to see some of the preliminary results. But there are additional questions being asked on all of the surveys online. Another question is whether teachers have actually used the NV Digital Learning website, which you saw from the earlier part of this presentation. My colleague Andrew showed the website. So majority of the teachers responded that they have not utilized the digital learning resources. And so we want to gather not only the information about if the resources are being accessed and used and what the current setting is, but also to give us a greater response and information and feedback to the Department of Education on what we would be able to provide as a resource and support through this digital learning website for teachers. Okay, moving on to the family or parent or guardian survey. Again, if you are in this category or if this category applies to you, you can click on the or scan the QR code in the right-hand column of the screen, right-hand corner of the screen to access the survey. So far, as of February 18th, 499 parents have responded, with the majority of those responses being actually in between the Clark County School District and Elko County School District, and a few from other rural counties, and then also a very small response number from the other urban county in Washoe. And this is to show you how many parents responded with students or children that are in these particular grade levels. Again, the majority right now is showing more in kind of the middle school area, 6th to 8th grade, but we do have responses in every grade level so far. So we do want to see that more of the responses statewide are coming in to represent families and parents throughout the state of Nevada. Majority of the parents that have responded have a child that's either virtually online learning at home or part of a hybrid model where they're doing a combination maybe of on-site and virtual learning as well. So this question just is a sample of feedback from parents to show where they actually have the greatest number of response to what additional supports their families or students need. to be able to be successful in school for this year. And the majority of parents responded with opening schools for students to return to in-person instruction because they're missing out on some of those critical supports that are needed to make sure that they are, or to help them be successful in completing their schoolwork or navigating through school and being successful in education in general. And some of those supports, just to name a few, are those for social emotional learning, having tutors available for students to help them in areas where they're struggling, providing those supports for students that may be in schools where they're operating under IEPs or other special education needs, etc. So the majority of parents who have responded, out of those 499, the higher response as to those supports was getting them back in school so that they can ensure that they can be successful and receive all of the well-rounded supports that they need to be successful in education. Moving on to the student survey. Again, if you are a student and would like to access the survey now, please scan the QR code that is on the top right-hand side of the screen. As of February 18th, we have 218 responses, with the current trends being the majority of responses from students within Clark County, and then more students within Elko, and smaller percentage in the remaining counties. So again, please forward the information about these 3 surveys to your networks, to your colleagues, to within your own families, so that they can connect to others throughout the community, so that we can get a greater response. Current trends and responses for students. Majority of responses right now are actually from 12th grade students. Students in high school where this is their last and final year of school are responding at a greater number to the survey. And again, looking at the overall, it's high school so far for students, but we do want to get a greater reflection in all of the grade levels. And I would like to share that if you are a parent or guardian of a student that is maybe in grades pre-K through 2nd or 3rd, where it may be hard for them to complete the survey, we are asking that you consider working with your child or the student so that we can gather their responses that way and you submit them for them online. We asked students if they had the tools that they needed to learn from home. A majority of those students that have responded said yes. I do want to point out for you to keep in mind that our majority of responses came from high school students, where they would have already had access to technology during the regular school day as well, because they had one-to-one devices to go home. So that may be a reflection as to why the percentage is so high. So again, we would like to hear from all of the lower grades. And then we also asked as a sub-question to that, how many of those students who responded to that question actually received the devices from the school. So that's additional information that we're gathering to see what was available for students and how they acquired the technology. In addition to that, we asked if there's a quiet space for them to work at home. Majority of students responded to that as yes. So again, these are majority of responses from high school students, and we do want to be able to reflect all of the questions, the feedback from the questions and the data within the survey across multiple grade levels and throughout the state of Nevada. The final question on the survey before being open-ended for them to provide us with more information about their feelings is, in this area, is to how successful do they feel they have been this school year, based on, for the majority of them, of course, being on distance learning or a hybrid model. How do they feel that they're successful? So for the highest response in this area was rating an 8 from a scale of 1 to 10, whereas some of the students are just not feeling as successful as they feel they would normally be within the regular school day setting. So I thank you for your time today and for joining us. We hope that you are able to access the survey, and please consider responding. Please share with others so that we can get a greater number of response throughout the state of Nevada. Take care, stay safe, and have a wonderful day.
We are so honored that we had Takia and Andrew presents that wonderful information for us this afternoon.
As Mark is pulling up and introducing the next video, I just wanted to remind you that the survey links are in the chat, just in case you weren't able to grab a picture of the QR code.
Thank you, Caitlin. And Caitlin, as mentioned, I have our next video. We have a co-presentation from Marie Dufresne and Michelle Trujillo. They are presenting on social emotional learning and also social emotional and academic development seed. So we are honored to hear their presentation, and here we go.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on our presentation on SEED and SEL in Nevada. My name is Marie Dufresne. I am the Education Programs Professional for Social Emotional Academic Development for the Office for a Safe and Respectful Learning Environment at the Nevada Department of Education. It is my pleasure to welcome my co-host, Michelle Mickey Trujillo, who is a school climate specialist and consultant in the Office for a Safe and Respectful Learning Environment at the Nevada Department of Education. Together, we bring over 40 years of experience in education in Nevada. Thank you all for joining us today. We would like to begin by providing some information and some definitions of social emotional learning, which we lovingly refer to as SEL, and social emotional academic development, which is SEED. In our state, you may hear both terms, and we want to be able to differentiate them. Social emotional learning, or SEL, is a lifelong process through which children and adults ages 2 to 92 acquire and effectively apply the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to understand, manage, and regulate emotions and feelings, set and achieve positive personal, professional, academic goals, feel and show empathy for one another, establish and maintain those positive relationships which we know are so critical to all of us, and make responsible decisions across diverse cultural contexts. Social emotional academic development is the interconnected relationship between academics and social emotional skills that reinforce equitable and human-centered educational environments. This is a way of being for all, ages 2 to 92. And for Mickey and I, this holds a special place in our hearts.
That it does, Marie, that it does. And we also think it's important for educators and others across the state of Nevada to know that we've adopted the 5 competencies as defined by CASEL. And just to make sure we all have the same common language, there are 2 self-competencies. There are self-awareness and self-management, 2 social awareness competencies, social awareness and relationship skills, and then a cognitive competency, responsible decision-making. And when we talk about what we offer through our office when it comes to SEED or to SEL, everything that we do is really through the lens of these 5 competencies. And why is SEED or SEL important? I think it's important to lay that out a little bit here as we talk about what is available in regard to supports and services that we provide through our office. Why do you even want it? Why do you need it? Well, obviously, it starts with our students and all that they're going through in the world today, but even pre-pandemic. So many of our students come into our classrooms carrying heavy burdens. They're going through things at home. There may be some instability. And here we want to just hit them with our, best instructional practices. And some of us as teachers, and Maria and I both have been in the classroom, we wonder, why isn't this taking? Sometimes it's not taking because there's more on a student's mind than whatever we're trying to teach. And so SEL or SEED, it helps us to be cognizant of this. We also know across the nation, there has been research that asks, does SEL really matter? The research says to us, yes, it does. We've seen it improve pro-social behavior, help improve attitudes of students about others, about themselves, about school. We've seen it to prove a reduction in discipline problems or behavior problems and an increase in attendance. We've showed it to show a reduction in emotional distress of students. The big one, always, we look back at all the emphasis on testing. SEL, when integrated into school culture and explicitly taught in the classroom, students actually demonstrate up to a 14%. This study notes an 11%, but up to a 14% gain in standardized tests, and also just 23% gain in social and emotional skills when students are taught behaviors explicitly. This is just another way to look at it. We think about teaching SEL skills, teaching SEED in the classroom. How does it impact a student's future? Well, employers say 80% of them, that SEL skills are extremely important in success. Colleges, by the way, say this as well. Educators, 90% of educators in this study said that social emotional learning benefited students. They saw it in their own classrooms with increased behavior and academics. We also want to think about the student. This study was just a couple years ago, and they measured 75% of the words that students used were negative when it came to talking about school. Think about that. If students look at school and talk about school in a way that is positive, they're more likely to be successful. And finally, we've got to look today through the lens of COVID-19. We are living in the midst of a global pandemic. It is so important that we consider Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And you'll note in this visual, school comes at the top. That means instruction, right? Really what we need to look at is physiological needs and safety needs, the needs of love and belonging, the needs of students to feel stable. This is what's important first and foremost. And then we get to instruction. You hear people say unprecedented. This is an unprecedented pandemic. And that word has lost a little bit of its meaning. Please understand that unprecedented is what it says. It's once in a century pandemic. And so we have to do things differently. This doesn't occur every day. So we've got to start looking at setting instruction aside just for a moment so that we can take care of our students, their families, and each other, as well as ourselves, in order to help us to give the best instructional practices we can give. And that leads us to, why is adult SEL? Why is SEL important for adults? Well, first and foremost, our kids are watching us. And as much as educators today, we've seen so much resilience in educators. They're being flexible, you're being creative, you're being tolerant and patient. And in the midst of it all, some of you are overwhelmed. Some of you are feeling that you're under-resourced. You're feeling emotionally and physically burdened. And so we've got to remember that you can't pour from an empty cup, right? SEL skills help us as adults to learn how to take care of ourselves. And I know we hear the term self-care and we think, gosh, that's one more thing on our plates. We don't have time for it. So a lot of our trainings, we try to help you learn how to integrate self-care into your very way of being. Marie used that term. SEL and SEED start first and foremost as a way of being. We did a survey of staff and families across our state. And I just want to show you this one piece of the survey. This just came out a few weeks ago. And when we look at how staff rated their mental health stressors, 75% of the staff surveyed, and there were about 2,370 who responded, said health was a major concern for them, that put a stress on their lives. That caring for loved ones, 54% said that's a stressor. Look at this number, 76% of the staff who filled out this survey said that they're having feelings of burnout. They're overwhelmed. And 84% were concerned about their own well-being. So adult SEL, starting with the adults, is absolutely imperative in this moment.
Thank you, Mickey. That leads us into a very special opportunity that I would like to tell you about today, which is our Nevada Seed Center, which is a free virtual support system on Canvas for all educators statewide who are interested in developing social, emotional, and academic development skills, which reinforce equitable environments and student success. I'd like to take you through now some of the activities offered through the Seed Center. First of all, we have professional development modules. Again, this is for any educator, certified or classified staff, where you can earn up to 15 CEUs or hours for your renewal license. And these can be taken one at a time, or you can choose which topic to decide to have your session on. We also provide ongoing training and coaching through the virtual Nevada Seed Center. We have weekly live office hours for SEL and SEED. We have a guest speaker series and online lunchbox learning sessions. All of these are recorded and put onto our Seed Center so that they can be viewed at a later time. We will be having a book study. We have a community of practice where we have a group of individuals who meet a few times a month who talk about collective efficacy, equity, and look at the issues today of SEL and SEED and how to better advance those. We have a group SEL self-care support groups, an online resource library covering a variety of topics. We also have discussion and reflection threads where we can network with one another and learn from each other. And we have daily wellness sessions online. The Seed Center opens on March 1st. And if you would like to register for an email reminder and login information, please scan the QR code shown here and you will receive that information.
Marie, I love that QR code. It's so easy. I tried it and it just takes you right to the site. It's awesome.
Wonderful.
I do want to share with you, in addition to the Seed Center, we have other virtual or in-person SEL and SEED professional learning opportunities. And you might ask yourself, well, who is this for? Everybody, from school board members to district leaders, site administrators, certified and classified staff, students, families, and community partners. The role of our office is to support you in your SEL and SEED needs. And what do we train on? Specific to SEL and SEED, we have an introductory type of training. We have adult SEL and self-care in the midst of adversity. This has been something that really has resonated with educators, both classified and certified staff today. We have culturally responsive adult SEL and SEED. And really everything we do is through the lens of equity. So I want to be sure to say that. But this is specific to strategies to be culturally responsive. We have an equity and engagement presentation that really helps us to engage students who are coming from a place of poverty or coming from a place where perhaps they haven't had as much access as other students. And it helps us to increase our awareness as to how to engage students who maybe haven't been as engaged in the past at no fault of their own. We also, some of you know, we have the school climate survey in the state of Nevada, and we will come out and help you evaluate that survey and action plan with you around the survey. We provide professional learning opportunities in the realm of staff or student morale support. So if you're having a hard time with your staff, because as we said, you know, people are overwhelmed right now. We have some trainings that engage educators in fun and in reminders of why did they choose this vocation in the first place. It seems to be really helpful for people. We also can provide support for SEL at home or for families. Sometimes we'll come to a community, we'll do support for staff, and then we'll hold a parent meeting in the evening, and it's been very successful. As Marie said, we have a community of practice. We also have a work group on SEL standards development. We'd love your input on that. If you're interested, just reach out to us. And then finally, any school climate, school culture support that you think you may need, contact us. We can customize any of these trainings or any of these topics to meet your needs. And finally, I think it's important to say that everything we do through the MTSS framework lens. So we always look at it through tiered interventions and supports, which I know is just one component of MTSS, but we always incorporate that lens. And why? Why do we do this? I mean, the why is first, right? It's our mission to provide youth and adults with evidence-based SEED and SEL support at the school, the district, and state level through this multi-tiered system of supports framework and an equity lens. And what it comes down to is hope, our hope for the future. We are hoping that what we can provide in support and resources and guidance will bring you hope.
Thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time to be with us to learn about SEED and SEL in Nevada. If you would like more information or would like to schedule a training, you can contact me, Marie Dufresne. My information is on the screen. Thank you again and have a wonderful day.
Take care.
All right. I hope the video was helpful for thinking about digital tools and resources and how we can support social emotional learning in the digital world. As we know statewide, hearing from educators, families, and students that this is definitely an area of need and an area that we want to continue to grow in. That concludes our time together today. Just want to remind you to tune in at the same time tomorrow to hear from 3 of Nevada's educators. Thanks so much again. And Mark, any closing words?
No, I just want to say the resource that was shared the resources that were shared this afternoon are going to be posted on our Nevada Digital Collaborative website. And we hope that you have a chance to view them. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great afternoon.